Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rooney. Just in case you're stopping by for the first time, you're welcome. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing us how to create buttonholes using your sewing machine in two ways. So first of all, let's start with this first one. So currently I have finished ironing my interfacing onto this one, and I have cut this out to look like a shirt buttonhole making stuff kind of. So just in case you're trying to create a buttonhole on your shirt or your shirt dress, okay, just pretend this is it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew this down at this point in my sewing machine, and I'll come back and we'll continue. All right, so after I finished sewing that, this is how it looks like. And as you can see, I sewed this on the wrong part of the red fabric. So if you're following this technique, make sure that you're sewing it on the wrong side of your own very fabric. Then you're going to bend this over like this. Okay, you can use an iron to press this down. So at this point, I noticed this stuff was too large, so I'm going to go ahead and then trim this out. So guys, sorry about the stain on the table. This is my makeup table, and I have my foundations all over everywhere because of my makeup brushes. So guys, sorry about that. So after I finish cutting this, I'm going to fold in half an inch. I'm just eyeballing it, but I would recommend you folding in half an inch. So guys, so far as you can see, this is looking already neat, okay? And this is because of the interfacing that I used. So if you're making like a shirt dress, you can make use of a lighter interfacing instead of the a bit tough one. So that would really help and give this a very nice look and finishing. So at this point, after doing this, I'm going to sew at the area that I folded in. I don't know if that makes sense. This point that I folded in, I'm going to go here and sew this down on my sewing machine. I'm not going to sew on the outer part, but this is optional. You can definitely sew that. Okay, so for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to sew only at this point. So this is it once I'm done sewing this down. So right now, this is how it is looking, and it's looking very much neat because of the interfacing that we inserted under. So right now, we are going to go ahead and then mark out our points for the buttonhole. So at this point now, it depends on the button that you're trying to make use of. The button I'm going to be using for this, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be using 1 inch for this tutorial, because the button size I'm using is not going to be big, it's small, not really small, but it's just normal. You guys are going to see it. So you can make use of 1.5 inch depending on the size of your button, or you can increase it to 2 inches, okay, if the button is very big. So that is it. You can definitely do that. So right now, I'm just going to mark on this point. I'm just going to mark on the beginning point, and then I am going to go ahead and also mark at the 1 inch point. So after doing that, this is how it looks like. And at this point, we are just going to bring in our ruler and then connect from the center of the first point to the last one. This is going to serve as a guide, so I will know where to sew and also where not to sew. So I will be able to find an entrance, okay, at the point for our button. So after drawing the line, this is how it is looking so far. As you can see already, it's looking neat. Okay, so it's going to give you a clear point on how to sew this. So you're going to sew on the sides first of all. If you're really good at sewing, you can go ahead and then start doing that. But for the sake of those people who do not really know how to go about this properly, I'm going to give you a mark on the side on how to follow this. So this is how this is done. You are going to just do this. You're going to just mark this out, okay, not a straight line but a little bit curved on the side of the straight line, so that you'll be able to sew around that particular curve, that very particular line. That is what you're going to sew. So you're going to do this carefully so that you will not end up drawing a line that is bigger. If you end up drawing a line that is bigger, it will be too big for your button and it will not come out like a normal buttonhole. So this is it. You're going to sew around these points carefully and with the emphasis on sewing on top of the lines. Okay, don't sew outside the line. If you're sewing outside the line, it should be towards out, not inside. But I will not recommend that. I will just recommend sewing on top of that line so that it can come out looking very neat and precise. So before you begin, I will recommend you keeping your regulator at a tight stitch, which is either at 15 or at 10, or in between, which is 12. Don't keep it at 8 or 7 or 6, which is going to be a very loose stitch for you. That's gathers. It's not going to look nice at all. It's going to look somehow. So once you place it at a tighter stitch and you sew this down, it's going to give you a very neat and locked up finishing. Is going to be very, very nice and firm. So please take note of this before you start doing this. So guys, this is it. I'm trying to sew this down on my sewing machine, and as you can see, I am following the line just like how I told you. So once you sew this, you have to sew this round, pause, pick up your presser foot, and then rotate it and then sew it around. So you might want to sew this around for, like, let's say 5 to 6 times on each of the sides, just to make it firm and strong. Okay, just to build up the threads on the both sides. You will not want to sew it like a few stitch. It is not going to help. So you have to make sure you double down on the stitches, stitch it over and over again. In fact, I don't even have how many times you're going to do this. You can sew it over and over again, over and over again, until you are satisfied that it's already giving you what you want and the thread is, heavy on the sides. Let me put it that way. So as you can see, I'm doing this over and over again. So that is what you should be doing. And already our buttonhole is coming together. So as you can see, it's already giving that shape that it's supposed to. So let's just trim this off and then get back to the table so I will continue. So after sewing this is what it looks like. As you can see, it is looking neat already. It's really giving us the shape. It's coming together and giving us the shape that we are looking for. So this is it. So guys, moving forward, we are going to go ahead and then create the hole at the center so that it can enable our button to pass through. So now here is what you are going to do. You are going to make use of a scissors. So I will recommend, if you have a smaller scissors, that is just the best choice ever. If you have a small scissors, other than the normal regular scissors that we use to cut this out. The smaller scissors is really going to help, especially when you're trying to cut in between the lines, okay? But if you're an expert in making use of your bigger scissors, you are definitely okay to go with this. But if you're not, please find a smaller scissors so that I can help you. So you'll not be able, so that you will not cut into the line you just finished sewing. Because that's the worst thing that can happen. You're cutting into the lines you just finished sewing, especially after you are finished, taking your time and making it come out looking neat and pretty, and you are so happy, and the next thing you just cut it, and before you know it, you just cut into the line you just finished stitching and you just spoil the whole thing. So it's just better you make it of a tiny scissors, or if you're using a bigger scissors, please be very careful. So another thing here is, after cutting this out, you notice you have some flyaways at the center. Okay, so it's very easy to do this. You just have to bring your lighter, but you have to be very careful in doing this so that you don't end up burning your fabric. So this is what you will do. So you just on the fabric at the center. Be sure to place it at the center so that it will be able to pick on those tiny things that are flying away. So you just on it at the center a little, just on it and off, on it and off. The heat from the fire is just going to burn that part out, thereby giving you a very neat and firm what I say inside in between the lines. Okay, your buttonhole will come out looking neat. So you have to be very careful in doing this, because this is a very delicate part, and this is a part that is really going to give you the nice finishing on the inside. Since you're not making use of a buttonhole machine and you're using a normal machine to do this, this is always a challenging part. So you have to be very careful in doing this. So after doing this, you can see that our buttonhole is now ready for us to use. All those flyaways that are at the center are all gone. So right now it's giving us a very nice, neat and finished look. So yeah, that is how you do this for the first step. So far this is how it's going to look after you have finished inserting a button into it. So as you can see, it's looking very much nice and precise, just like a normal buttonhole, as if you would use a normal buttonhole machine to do this. So it's giving us a very nice, neat finish look. So that's it, guys. So let's move on to the second method. So for the second method, I am making use of the same fabrics, okay, just so that I can explain this much better for you guys. So now this is when you're trying to make a buttonhole for a suit or a jacket or something like that. So I'm placing this little yellow fabric on top of the red one. As you can see, I'm placing it on top of the right side of this fabric. So just like we did the first one, I'm going to measure out, okay, depending on how wide you want this to be, depending on how big your buttons are. So you can either make use of 1 inch or 1.5 inch or 2 inches. It all depends on you. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be making use of 1.5 inch just to illustrate and then show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to mark at the 1.5 inch, and I'm also going to mark on the 0 inch mark. Up next, I'm going to bring in my ruler, and then I'm going to connect the two dots together, just like how we did the first one. I'm going to connect the two dots together at the center. All right. So after doing that, we are going to go ahead and then create a guide on the side for ourselves so that we'll be able to follow that while sewing. But if you're a pro at this and you already know what to do, you can go ahead and start your sewing. But for those beginners who doesn't know how to do this, we are going to try to draw out this guide so I will know where to sew and how to follow this properly. So guys, after making this out, I noticed that this is looking way too big than what I needed it to be. So I'm going to just go ahead and reduce the wideness of this circle. So after doing that, I noticed that it was still a little bit wide. I mean, after sewing everything together. So if you're going to be doing this, I would recommend that you make this circle a little bit slimmer than what you're seeing on this video right now. That's if you're trying to duplicate this, or if you're trying to redo this on your own fabric. So at this point now, after drawing this, we're just going to take this over to a sewing machine, and then we are going to sew on the lines by the sides and also on the edge so that we can be able to secure this. So moving on to the sewing machine, we are going to be sewing this on the lines as earlier demonstrated. So make sure that your regulator is on a tight stitch when you're trying to do this. Don't keep it on a gathers. Always remember that that is very, very important, so that it can come out looking neat first of all, and also it will make this tight and it will not loosen up. So yeah, that is just it. So you're just going to go ahead and sew around the lines just like how we did the first one. So this is how it is looking like so far after we have finished sewing all around it. So as you can notice, just like I said, this point is looking quite a bit big. So when you're doing this, be sure to please reduce your, so that it will not come out looking wide. So at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and then cut at this point open, cut at the center open, and please be very careful while doing this so that you're not cut into the lines you already sewed. So at this point now, that's why I said making use of a smaller scissors is going to really help you, because you notice that for this very particular type of buttonholes, you will have to cut through into the sides, just like how I am showing you right now. Okay, you're going to cut into the fabric in a triangular form. Okay, cut into the edge towards the different endings, or the different, yeah, the different endings. So that is just it. So if you're making use of a tiny scissors, this will be very much easy for you to do, and you're going to see it while doing this. So if you're starting out new, please and please make use of a tiny scissors. Sorry about that noise, guys. A tiny scissors while doing this. Do not use a bigger scissors while doing this, because it's very easy for you to destroy this after you might have finished laboring to sew this and bring it out to this point. So the next thing we are going to do is to turn this around. We are going to push this yellow fabric in and then turn it all around so that we can be able to have the hole at the center, thereby making this look very much neat. So after doing this, we're just going to go ahead and then press it using our pressing iron, okay, just to iron this out so that it will look very much neat. So after ironing this is how it looks like so far. This is what it's looking like so far. So at least you're coming to the ending part of it, because this is already looking nice. So for the yellow fabric, we are just going to cut this out because we don't want it to be excessive inside the fabric. So we're just going to cut this, trim this down, and just make it a little bit small so that we can proceed and do what we want to. So after cutting this out, here's another thing that we'll have to do just to secure this in one place, and thereby controlling the movement of the yellow part. So what I have in my hand right now is an interfacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut through at the center of this inner facing. So what we're trying to achieve is to cut out and have a rectangle at the center. So that is just how wide you want this to be. You wouldn't want it to be too wide, just a rectangle, so that I can be able to pack in and then, you know, secure the yellow part of this fabric. So after cutting that out, we are going to place this on top of the yellow fabric like this. So as you can see, this, the essence of this is that it's going to help keep this in a very firm position, and the yellow part is not going to move at all. So if you're doing this, be sure that you're placing the shiny part of the interfacing on the fabric. Do not place the shiny parts of the interfacing on top, because if you do that, if you're placing it and it's facing you, whatever it is you're going to, ensure it's not even going to move, because it's going to stick to your iron. So the sticky part, the shiny surface carries the sticky part, so you have to place it on your fabric, so when you're ironing it, it can stick to the fabric. So guys, after ironing this out, this is how it's looking like so far. So like I said earlier, this hole was a bit big, so that's why it's looking like this. It's not supposed to look like this. So when you're doing your own, be sure that you have reduced it so that it will look smaller. All right guys, so that is it, and this is how it is looking when you end up placing a button on top of it. When you end up inserting your buttons on it, this is how it's going to look like. So yeah guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you found value on this video, and also give me a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. And also, if there is anybody who also needs to know this, that haven't seen this video, once you share this video, those people will also end up benefiting from this, because YouTube will notice that this is actually a nice tutorial and people are learning from it, so they will definitely want to share it out to other people for them to also benefit from this. So yeah guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next one. So you might end up clicking on this video on this screen, because YouTube feels it is okay for you to watch this. They feel it's okay, so they're going to be recommending something on the screen for you guys, so you can go ahead and then click on that, and then, you know, and I'll see you in those videos. Bye guys.